Hello everyone and welcome to the Ticker.com's news channel on YouTube. On this channel, we review stock markets and discuss financial news, market trends, and economic data from Wall Street to Global Street. So let's dive in. We begin our review of global economy with the key releases in the US, Europe, China, and Japan. NVIDIA's earnings played a key role in powering tech stocks linked to artificial intelligence, but the tech rally also lifted broader market indices to record highs in the US, Japan, Germany, and France. On the economic front, US existing home sales declined from a year ago in January to an annual rate of 4 million home sales, indicating tight supply and muted demand because of elevated mortgage rates. The Eurozone's current account swung to a surplus, largely because of the fall in energy imports. In the full year 2023, the current account surplus in the Eurozone increased to 260 billion euros, or 1.8% of the Eurozone GDP, from a deficit of 82 billion euros, or 0.6% of the GDP in 2022. Moreover, the Swiss trade surplus expanded in January after imports declined at a faster pace than exports. In Asia, Japan's trade deficit narrowed to 1.8 trillion yen, from 3.5 trillion yen after exports soared 11.9% and imports declined 9.6%. China's property market turmoil continued as prices of new homes across the 70 largest cities declined for the 7th month in a row in January. However, prices rose at a moderate pace in the two largest cities, Beijing and Shanghai. European Union passenger car registration rose 12% from a year ago in January. Despite the cost of living crisis and elevated interest rates, buyers snapped up new cars. Battery electric vehicle sales surged almost 29% to 92,700 units, comprising 10.9% of all registration and rebounding from a 16.9% decline in December. Let us review key events in global bond, currency, and commodity markets last week. The yield on the 10-year U.S. Treasury stayed above 4.3% after initial jobless claims fell to a 3-month low, indicating persistently tight labor market conditions. Gold rebounded 1% to $2,035 an ounce on the weakness in the U.S. dollar and sustained demand from China following the prolonged decline in housing and stock markets. WTI crude oil held steady at $78 a barrel as traders assessed supply-demand balance, elevated geopolitical tensions, the global interest rate outlook, and the level of U.S. dollar against other major currencies. TTF natural gas price fell 8% to €23.50 megawatt hour, and prices approached the level last seen in May 2021 before Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The euro hovered at $1.08 as investors tempered the rate cut expectations amid the Eurozone private sector activity contraction, which slowed in February to the weakest rate since last June. The yen traded near 150 against the US dollar. Manufacturing activities contracted the most in 3.5 years in February, and investors estimated the continuation of ultra-loose monetary policy at least till the end of the first half. We now review key developments in financial markets around the world last week. The S&P 500 index and the Nasdaq Composite extended weekly gains after NVIDIA's blowout earnings and guidance lifted artificial intelligence-linked stocks and lifted market indices in Europe, Japan, and China. European markets extended weekly gains and benchmark indices in Germany and France soared to a new record high amidst strong earnings and stable interest rate expectations. The Nikkei 225 surpassed the previous high reached in 1989 and led world markets for the 5th week in a row amid sustained interest from foreign investors, strong corporate earnings, and the expectations of improving corporate governance. China's stock markets rebounded after China-controlled funds stepped up buying of domestic corporation stocks to stabilize financial markets. Indian market indices increased for the 6th week in a row amid optimism about economic growth and stable interest rate environment. Let us shift our attention to merger deals, market movers, and earnings updates from leading companies last week. NVIDIA, the advanced semiconductor chip maker, reported a whopping 265% jump in revenue in its latest quarter and guided strong growth in its current quarter. Capital One Financial agreed to acquire Discover Financial in all-stock deal for $35.3 billion. Walmart reported better than expected revenue and earnings in the fourth quarter and agreed to acquire Vizio for $2.3 billion. Booking Holdings, the online travel company, reported stronger than expected quarterly results, and the company said it plans to launch a quarterly cash dividend of $8.75 per share. Carvana, the used car marketplace operator, reported its first-ever annual profit. Standard Chartered, the UK-based and emerging markets-focused bank, announced a $1 billion stock buyback program. HSBC, the global bank, said fourth-quarter earnings fell sharply, and the bank announced a stock buyback program and an increase in its cash dividend. Allianz, the German insurance company, reported slightly lower than expected fourth-quarter earnings. Lucid Group, the electric vehicle maker, reported weaker than expected revenue in its latest quarter as losses widened. Rivian Automotive, the electric vehicle maker, reported weaker than expected quarterly results and lowered its 2024 electric vehicle production outlook at around 57,000 units. Rolls-Royce, the aviation and power engineering firm, reported a sharp rise in its annual profit in the fiscal year 2023 and estimated a higher profit in 2024. Mercedes-Benz Group, the German automobile company, lifted its dividend and estimated stable revenue in 2024. Palo Alto Network plunged after the cybersecurity company reported better than estimated fiscal second quarter revenue and earnings, but guided weaker sales and billings growth in the current quarter and fiscal year. Teladoc Health dropped after the online health service provider reported weaker than expected quarterly revenue. Next week, investors in the U.S. will review the PCE price index, personal income and outlays, durable goods orders, a second estimate of fourth quarter GDP data, and goods trade balance. On the corporate front, investors are looking ahead to the release of earnings from Dell, HP, TJX companies, and Lowe's. In Europe, inflation and employment data are set to be released for the Eurozone, GDP data in Italy, retail sales in Switzerland, and home price updates in the UK are also anticipated. In Asia, investors are looking forward to the releasing of manufacturing data in China, inflation updates, retail sales and industrial production data in Japan, and GDP growth data in India. In addition, South Korea is scheduled to release its international trade data, and inflation and retail sales data are on tap in Australia. You can review daily U.S. and global financial markets news, earnings releases, SEC filings, stock movers, and economic updates on ticker.com and 123jump.com. You can also get the latest financial books on redera.com and keep up with financial industry events on eventsinamerica.com. That is all for today, and we will see you next week.